Gentleman from Florida, Mr. Soto, is next for questions. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The National Environmental Policy Act has been a critical law to help protect my constituents for decades. And we do know that from time to time, there'll need to be reasonable reforms. I know Mr. Peters, who you'll hear from in a little bit, also agrees with me on this. When you look at my district's history, we had the Kissimmee River channelized. It cost tens of millions of dollars to do that, and it cost us nearly $1 billion to fix it. Because when that happened, it was an environmental catastrophe that took water away from ranchers, that shot nutrient-rich water right into the Everglades and hurt local species. So we know we do need to look at these major projects. Otherwise, it could cost us 10 times, if not 100 times more. My constituents would know about the I-4 Ultimate project, which is our main road going through Central Florida, which has been a good partnership between the federal agencies and our Florida Department of Transportation, as well as interstate clean energy projects, which are struggling sometimes under the NEPA review. So it's critical to have environmental analysis, public comment, permitting. I know those things are being fought right now. In the case of I-4, we had a silt flow that was going on I-4 during the construction period during hurricane season, and so public input was key to help adjust our local highway. Then we had the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which created some rules of the road in 2023, creating a lead agency, environmental impact statements that had to happen in 2 years, environmental assessments within 1 year, page limits of 150 pages for the environmental impact statement and 75 pages for environmental assessments. And then, of course, we've heard about 7 County Infrastructure Coalition v. Eagle County that limited assessments on upstream and downstream effects. So there have been legislative and judicial reforms that have happened. I know it seems like in this hearing that there's a lot of talk about nothing happening, but we know there's been 2 major reforms, one by the courts, one by this body. Mr. Morgan, how are these reforms going so far in practice since they've only been about 1 year, 2 years old?
So, I mean, even before the 7-county case, we saw course corrections from the courts, right? In 2009, the Ninth Circuit heard a case called Lands Council versus McNair en banc. And in that case, an en banc court, meaning all of the, it's essentially half because the Ninth Circuit's so large, but 11 members of the Ninth Circuit unanimously said, our NEPA case, our environmental law has gone a little bit off the rails.
But specifically for the Fiscal Responsibility Act, how have those reforms gone, the legislative reforms?
I think we don't have enough time to say for sure how it's going because it's only been 2 years. But I think the experience is that the agencies are going to be able to make this transition. All of these documents historically have been redundant and repetitive, and so meeting these page limits, I think, is not going to be an impossibility for these agencies.
Okay. And then, Mr. Campbell, I know you've been working on some major new projects in both solar, natural gas, and others in Kentucky, and been working with Governor Beshear on these projects, and we're quoted as saying we need both reliable power plus decarbonization over time. Walk us through some of the challenges you've had through NEPA on these clean energy projects you're working on that were funded through the Inflation Reduction Act.
We haven't gotten that far to where we have had the challenge with NEPA. These are all very fresh projects that we just got Public Service Commission approval, so we're just moving down and signing contracts. So I'm sorry I can't share that with you.
Based on your experience with past projects, what are you concerned about as you're trying to modernize Kentucky's energy?
So, well, if you're talking about modernize Kentucky's energy, that's a long story, and I'll dive into it.
I'm defining it as these projects that you're working on for purposes of this conversation. What are some of the things, roadblocks you think you'll face ahead that you're concerned about?
Yeah, I think EIS studies that go on too long, we need to get these projects on as fast as we can is an issue. We've had transmission issues when we have to have NEPA projects with transmission issues.
Do you think the 2-year limit and the 150-page limit will be some improvement to as we work through these?
That will help. I would really like this body to put that in granite by Congress and not have the judicial system weighing in and not having others weigh in. I'd like to see you put that in.
Well, as you know, the Fiscal Responsibility Act that put those into power was a bipartisan piece of legislation that a lot of us voted for. So I appreciate your feedback on this. And I yield back.